Getting up your camera.
Yeah, and setting it up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The thing seems poignant.
Is it set up? Have you got it going yet?
Yeah, it's all ready to go.
Okay.
I think today I just feel a little bit deflated, to be fair.
Following, do you think, from last session, do you mean? Or?
No.
No.
Following just life and people and things, and just listening to people and talking to people and seeing how they've all got their problems, and they're all kind of like minutiae. Some are bigger, some are, you know, life-threatening health issues, and you know, human existence, it's all struggling. And you know, I read books by Albert Camus. There's one called The Stranger, and this guy, he's kind of like, what's the point to anything? You know, his mother died, he didn't feel anything. A woman asked for his hand in marriage, he didn't think there was any point. Authors like Jean-Paul Sartre, Nietzsche, and people like that, you know. I think when you open your eyes up to the world, like the Buddha, and you see suffering and the pointlessness of it, I think, you know, once you've seen it and you've become awake and aware, and that's why I see the imperfections in everything and the futility of friendships and love affairs and all the rest of it, because everything is finite, you know. And the only thing that isn't finite is consciousness. And consciousness never dies, and so, well, what's the point in bothering about anything else?
But it's bringing with it an energy of feeling depleted and flat, did you say at the start?
Yeah. I don't often feel like that at all. I'm usually really vibrant and, you know, ecstatic in my bliss. But of course, you know, we're influenced, and I've been listening to lots of therapy videos, you know, giving me an insight into all the varying therapies out there, and how they say in 50 years the therapeutic fraternity hasn't made any headway at all in efficacy. And so it's kind of like, what the hell's going on? 50 years all over the world, there's been no significant headway in the efficacy of what anyone does, and no therapy is any more meaningful or poignant or of any value than any other. And well, it just all adds to the futility of it.
I guess I wonder what you've taken from that, because I wonder if there's something about what evidence is out there, what we read and what we find, because I guess it's about what you're going into therapy for, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I guess we know through, you know, anecdotally and through research that therapy does make a difference to people. So I wonder what it is you're drawing upon, and what brings that in here today. Because I know we left at the end of the last session, didn't we? You were feeling quite frustrated, weren't you?
Yeah.
Towards the end, and I guess I'm just wondering, and you were starting to talk about therapy models then, and I guess bringing it back to what can we do in here today? What feels important for us to know about that in terms of what might come up, what might block any work we do, what might enhance it, what do you want to focus on? And I guess it's that bit, isn't it, thinking about what we're maybe thinking about is, can we create space to do some trauma work, to work on some of the things that have happened to you, and then, you know, do processing, do healing, update any adaptive information networks. And at the moment it feels hard to get to that work, but we get into more of a sort of philosophical, theoretical debate sometimes. So I'm just wondering what might be important, what do we need to think about, and what can we work towards?
Well, I look at the unfortunate childhood, and you know, it's so far away. And if you was to ask me how I felt about that, I would go, well, best thing that ever happened to me. So there's either something which is telling a big fat lie and burying some deep sadness. And if that sadness was to have a resolve on it at my time of life, I failed to see how I'm all of a sudden going to be jumping with joy as if it never happened. I think the death of my mother and my institutionalising years, it gave me a great awakening.
So can I just check then, what are we doing in this space then? If childhood has no impact on you now, if actually it's the best thing that's ever happened, if actually what you've learned from that is essential to your well-being now, what are we doing in here?
Well, there's more recent things. The spiritual awakening was the most profound thing that ever happened to me in my life. And that was the implosion of the ego. And the whole process of these 16 years that has brought me to this it's like a paradox, you know. The world is a paradox, everything's a paradox, and there is beauty in the world. The human being can experience beauty if their minds are free enough to do that, and they're not too constrained by the narrow parameters of everyday life.
But I guess I'm wondering, this focus on others and a perceived sense of their happiness or unhappiness takes a lot of the focus. What is it we can do in here for you? You know, what is it about that? You know, okay, so you're sort of saying, okay, the childhood stuff, I don't want to go there. Because I think initially it was about some of the childhood impact.
Yeah.
So I guess you're maybe saying now...
I look at that though, and I the whole thing, I don't think it's any particular part that... I think, you know, this loving thing, to love our fellow men and to find love and trust in someone that you are naive enough to invest and think it's forever, instead of thinking about it's only for today and tomorrow's another day, so let's just take one day at a time. People invariably can't build relationships on thoughts like that. And you know, I know people who are actually living like this with partners and wondering whether they're going to have children or get married and build homes, and there's just underlying insecurity. So it's a humanism and
But what is it about? Because again, it's again, isn't it, a perception of others?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a perception of others. I'm including others to as a reiteration that I'm not such an alien thinking like I do.
But I guess we can't do anything about others, and also we don't know. There's a sense, isn't there? They're kind of in this naivety. They're not woken up. They're ignorant. There's these sort of senses, isn't there?
Yeah.
And they may or may not be true. And actually, it's about other people. What is it that? How does any of this impact you? Because what are we doing here? What is it that we're working on?
Well, we're supposed to be trying to discover some preventatives to living what most people would consider a fulfilling life.
So what do you mean? What preventatives? What are we doing for you? What are we going to work on? If we were to focus the next... we're halfway there, I think, with our sessions. If we're to focus the next 8 sessions, what are we going to be working on? Because at one point, I think we were saying, okay, this kind of lack of trust in others.
Yeah.
You know, potentially, that child had a lot of untrustworthy experiences. Fundamentally, you know, the map, the relationship, the template of your experiences were let down gravely.
Yeah.
What if we were to go back and heal and process and work through those?
Right.
What would that be like? That was some of the ideas a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm just wondering, Because if there are parts that are adamant that you are happy as you are, and your aim here is to teach me or others, what's that going to do for you?
Well, ultimately nothing. But you know, of course, you know, there is parts of me that are resistant. There's parts of me that feel as if they know far too much for any of this to be a success. But then there's a part of me that wants to give it a try to see if there's efficacy in this stuff. And if by some stroke of genius I can ever find love and compassion, what would that mean for me as a new facet to my life?
That's interesting, isn't it? Because it's almost set up as a bit of an experiment then, isn't it? A bit of a test.
Well, of course it is an experiment because, you know, unless we're very naive and we've got the full hope and...
Well, we'll find what we're looking for, won't we? And I think this is the power of parts. If there's a part that's going to be analysing, appraising, certain you know too much for it to be of any benefit, you're going to find that.
Yeah.
That is what you'll find.
Because look, if I look at people that do your work, and they're given an honest appraisal of what they do and what their objective is, and their objective is always speaking about feeling safe and you're not threatened, and well, I don't feel any of those emotions. And to be quite frank, I don't know whether I ever have really felt like I'm not, you know, safe. At least from when I was about, you know, 10 years old or 15 years old, I was my own man, you know. And so if we're looking for this feeling safe, well, I don't need to look for that. We need to look for something that maybe softens the edge. So I would think the focus might want to be along the lines of the memory considerations, so I can be presented with juxtaposed schemas to see if I can soften the edges and start to feel different from that perspective. Now, I understand all the fundamentals of that, but you know, you can try to do it with yourself to a degree, and of course for years I've been introspecting and I know what's going on inside, and I'll be very surprised if there's anything there that I'm not aware of. But there is the benefit in this face-to-face therapy thing, having a second party involved in that, and me allowing myself to be in a position which may be considered to be vulnerable. I'm open to that. I don't feel vulnerable about any of this stuff, you know, that's the thing. I don't think I do,
well,
but
no,
maybe...
I think the talking, everything we've known about these parts that analyse, appraise, acknowledge, control, keep you away from any feelings generally. And
well,
of course,
you know, the feelings, I know the feelings are there, because I do, I can cry at a movie, and I'm like, who the hell's crying at this movie? This person that does evidently feel these concepts of love and compassion and you know, kinship with my fellow man and all the rest of it. But since the move's over, then of course you know, there's more powerful parts that take over. And the kind of like the more realistic parts and the schemas of, you know, all relationships come to an end, right? And the ones that don't is because they're too scared or too lazy to bring them to an end, and so they just continue with the same old shit. Yeah, and so to look at the schemas, I think to focus on memory reconciliation.
And if you stay in that area of schemas and cognition, you will again get a description of the feelings that you're also seeking to understand. So you're going to, and that's the thing, I think you'll find what you're looking for. If you're going to go into everything analytical,
yeah,
you won't necessarily feel. So it'll be, we're kind of caught in a double bind, aren't we? Because you're not going to feel.
Well, I mean,
If
the
you're
intention is
determined
to sedate me a little bit, maybe with the eye movements, and take me into.
And I think we have to be aware. I can't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
If your parts
that's right.
are
I'm
going to
looking
stay.
at doing that because I wonder what I know that there's. It's kind of like in a respect there's damaged goods here, and the way I have lived my life has presented a world to me, and now my world is X, Y, and Z. But I am very aware that there are schemers, that there are these contradictions. I'm a contradictory personality. I'm a Libra, and I'm always flinging from one side to the other, and looking for this elusive. Let me think of that word. Perfection, confluence with everything. Lots of words.
So I guess I'm going to check then. If we sort of hold quite simplistically that a lot of your managers, a lot of your parts that keep you in the cognitive are protecting you from feeling. So if we were to go to where early times, where that's where you learn, that's where managers learn to take feelings away and do something helpful with them, that kind of, trauma recovery, that trauma growth, let's make this a good experience, let's make this positive and work for us. If we could go to some of those moments and do some processing, what would be the worst thing about that? What is it that parts maybe are going to find difficult about that?
The acceptance of change, I suppose, because it's kind of like a stay with the devil that you know, and I don't know whether I can imagine what I would be like if I was one of these people that embrace compassion for the world, because as far as I can gather at this moment in time, it's a fantasy. It's very easily dismissed.
Okay.
You see, the whole thing about compassion, what I say, I dismiss compassion. And if you look at what compassion means on Google, then you'll get all different sorts of philosophers and psychoanalysts and psychologists, and they'll be giving their tuppence worth of what compassion is. And, some say, well, some consider it a weakness, and, if you hold out your hand to raise somebody up, well, it's not much of an assistance other than the first time, because they're still going to need to be raising themselves up when you're not there. So what do? Well, maybe you just give them a crutch, and if you give them a crutch or climbing frame, you don't need to even consider compassion, because it's action that's required. And of course,
so can you see there's another part again, just defining stay in the cognitive, let's stay thinking about a feeling, let's stay thinking about how unhelpful it is, let's stay thinking about the problems of it. And it's there so quickly, isn't it? This part.
Yeah, it's so deep.
It's
so deep.
An opportunity to feel, we're straight into the benefits of not feeling.
Yeah.
The problems with feeling.
Yeah.
So, and this is the tricky bit, isn't it? Because we will go where the parts will allow us to go.
Yeah, and so to look. At the poignant parts, I mean, okay, death of mother, major one. The demise of my long-term relationship, who was the mother of my daughter, actually experiencing true love, and just seeing that slip away through the years.
So would you be willing to go to any of these?
Yeah.
Just then, some of those that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to go there? We start to bring up some information, we get a little bit of information about the scene, and then we start processing and we see what comes up, which will be a blend of what you know, but we're also trying to not, I will ask you not to give long descriptions of things. So I'll just say, just notice, I'll get something quite brief from you. I'll encourage that to be anything like imagery, feelings, body, sensations, and keep going. Because we're really trying to open up not just the cognitive. Does that feel possible, or do you notice even now sort of a resistance, a worry, a kind of anything that's coming up that's going to say no, this is not right or not okay? Or
yeah, it's a little bit like a psychedelic experience. There's always a little bit of anticipation before you go into it.
Yeah.
And when I've thought about Mother, previous occasions, then that, you know, it's like I'm still 4 years old again, of course, and I don't really want to be 4 years old, sitting here, you know, with tears streaming down my cheek. So there's that reservation.
And what is it with, because that again is an understandable protector. What is it that would be really difficult about that for the protector? What would make? Well,
I mean, it's it's obvious again. It's complex. It's the catharsis, the release of built-up emotion. It's a sign of weakness that you're finally giving in. See, after all these years, you're finally giving in.
So that part would think that to connect to an emotion in this room is a weakness.
Yeah, but you know, I've been there before, and I've done this self-hypnosis, you know, with the help of Dr. Phil, and of course I'm a hypnotherapist, so I know how this stuff works, and I've took myself down to the point whereby, you know, I have brought about the emotion, and it seems like hundreds of times.
Can you see already there's a part taking you into? Again, it's an avoidance of feeling, isn't it? Because you're telling me you've done it, you're telling me you can do it. Yet we know that this is tricky.
It doesn't, it's never seemed to have made any difference. It's just shit that happened, and it's always going to be there, and you are what you are now, boy, and get on with it. But, you know, there is, of course, in your fraternity, you are a believer. That's why you're here doing it, and maybe you've seen good results.
Well, I think it works for people that want to do the work, and I think it works for people that can allow themselves to do the work.
Yeah.
And I do think what we're really noticing here is you'll get out of it what you put in. And if certain parts are really avoidant, are really determined that they know the most than anyone, they know more than they could share, they know everything they need to know, they are good as they are, they've done the feeling stuff before it doesn't work, this is a test, I don't think anyone's going to make me feel, you know, that's very strong.
Yeah.
And so I can absolutely say to you, yeah, that part will win by the end. You know, if that's what that part is looking for, confirmation that they know more, or that they can stay as they are, then absolutely. But it's almost like if we were to give up that battle, to give up that kind of who's going to win this,
and so
what can we do to help you? Because it's you that's wanted to come in.
Yeah.
You wanted something from this space.
Yeah.
You know what you know already. What are you willing to work on?
I'm willing to work on anything that you have highlighted from your professional standpoint. You know, I can only convey my disposition and current reservations, but you know, paradoxically, I'm here because there is a part of me that does want to investigate this, that does want to see what a potential other me would look like.
So is the part though that blocks, the part that says no to all of this, okay with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is there anything that they are worried about that we can do to help them witness this process, or be part of this process? Is there anything that part, will make them feel able to go into this work fully and not kind of, I'm going to allow it, but I'm actually going to still be blocking in the background?
Well, if I ask the parts to stand down and to allow an open inquiry into the vulnerable parts, and so, for instance, the saboteur will step aside, the centurion will step aside, supercilious will keep his mouth shut. The little boy won't be too terrified about revisiting said trauma.
Okay. So I wonder whether the beliefs that the protector holds are anything that we can, do we need to do any processing with the protector first? Because it sounds like the protector was saying something about you'll be weak if you cry. It's a belief of the protector. Is there anything else that they hold that we could work with to understand where that comes from, and if that can be eased up a bit? The protector believes you're weak if you cry, you know everything already, humanity is flawed.
Yeah.
Are there any of these beliefs, because while they're so fixed, is there anything about these that we can get to understand where they came from and why they have to be so solid?
Well, the protection and the stifling of trauma and the unresolved facet of it. You see, we as a family, my older brother and my two younger sisters, through many years we spoke about the death of our mother and what we remember, and it was pretty conclusive that none of us have anything remotely like the similar memory, and we can't depend on any of our memories. And my brother told the story, because he's 2 years older than me, that coming down the stairs from the bedroom when we heard commotion downstairs, police and ambulance persons, that mother was lying dead on a stretcher. And I think I can picture that, but I don't know whether that's my memory or my brother's.
Yeah.
And then I ask, what's wrong with Mum? And then the answer is she's dead. And I ask again, I seem to remember I ask again through disbelief.
Yeah.
So even now I've gone back, I'm into it now, goodness me.
So, and do you feel okay because you're into that, having to go with that?
Yeah.
Or is there any part that's saying, actually, I need to do a little bit first?
No, I can go straight in.
And one thing I'd say is, whether it's an image that was yours or what has been taken in, it's okay, it's still there as an image.
Yeah.
So we still can work with that.
Yeah.
So if that's the image you've got. Is this feeling okay? And of course, I know we've done this briefly, you can stop. If at any point you want to, you can put your hand up, you can say stop, you can just, turn your eyes away and I'll get the sign that you're ready to stop.
Yeah.
And we'll just, we'll just keep seeing what comes up. We'll go with it. Like I said, we'll just do small gaps, and we can do some reflection at the end. But in the meantime, we'll just try and go with the flow of the process. Okay. So I know you're just in touch with it. We might have come slightly out now because we just spoke about it. But if we can, then so we're noticing that we're very much with the 4-year-old part, and it's it's connecting to you. You've got that image of Mum lying on a stretcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you say to me, Aaron, some bits you might not be able to answer, some bits you might be able to, what's the worst bit about that image for you, that little boy?
Well, the loss coupled with uncertainty.
Yeah. The loss and the uncertainty. And what do you think is the belief of that little boy at that point in time? What's the belief about himself in that moment?
So just add confusion to the loss and uncertainty. And that little boy, what's he thinking there now?
What's his belief about himself that he might even still hold now that he had then? I'm alone, I can't trust, I'm not safe, I'm helpless, I'm powerless.
At that time there wasn't anything, it was just bewilderment. It took a long time to process that. It took many.
Are there any thoughts you have now, Aaron, about that moment as you look at that boy?
Well, the strongest memories are often always on my own.
I'm alone.
Maybe sitting on my bed, sitting in a corner, away from everybody else.
Okay.
Just crying.
What would you like to believe if you could, when we've worked through, healed, processed some of these events, what would you like to believe about that time now?
What would I like to believe about it? Well, I mean, it gave me strength, but also it took away, I suppose in some sort of sense, it took away my soul.
Okay. Yeah. Your soul, and so again, your feelings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it took away that compassion, it took away the love,
Yeah.
it took away the belief.
Okay. Okay. And it might be hard to think of this now, but is there anything you think you'd like, once it's all processed, to update that little boy with? What would you like him to know now, or believe now about himself?
It's gonna be alright.
Okay. Okay, what feelings can you notice just now, Aaron? What coming up? Sadness? Anything else?
Abandonment,
Yeah. Okay.
insecurity.
Yeah. Where in your body are you feeling this just now? In or around your body, where do you sense these feelings? Notice them.
I can't feel anything.
Okay. We'll keep checking that as we go, okay? It might just be very small, might be tiny bits. We'll just see if there's anything that shows up in or around the body. And how big does this feel just now out of 10?
Well, I thought fancy having a therapy session without tissues.
No, I just filled them up with a bit full. How big does this feel?
Sorry?
How, if we had to give this a sort of a sense of how big it is, sometimes we do it sort of visually or sometimes just with a number out of 10. If 10 was the most, how big does this feel right now as you're in touch with it?
How big does it feel?
10's the most. Try not to worry about this too much. I know numbers take us out feeling a little bit. It's just a sense of how big this is right now. Not trying to appraise or analyse it, just how big does it feel?
How big did that event feel?
Just as you're connecting to it now, yeah. That image of Mum, that little boy. Just something as spontaneous as you can.
Well, it was the first sense of, I suppose, being a human being. It was, I suppose, it was kind of like a birth. It was a birth into the real world.
So just let me take you back, just that image of Mum on the stretcher, that I'm alone, I'm without love, that sadness, that worry. How big does all of that feel just now out of 10? That image of Mum.
Yeah, I don't feel anything. That's the strange. I don't feel afraid. I don't feel insecure.
Okay.
The sadness.
Okay. Just notice that then. How sad does this feel just now? Might have come out of it slightly because you're sort of talking a bit more now. But when you were just in touch with that imagery, you're just noticing that memory of Mum. How big? Just roughly. This isn't going to go sort of.
Yeah, it's difficult to put a measure on it, but.
Did it feel big, medium, small?
It was big, of course.
Okay.
It was huge.
Let's just say big for now then, okay. So, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes and then do some eye movements, okay? Just go with that imagery. Notice whatever's going to come up. Just allow it to be there. Without trying to guide. Okay, just take a breath. Let it go. Just notice anything at all. Images, thoughts, body, memory.
I remember at the funeral, outside one of these Leicester funerals, one of the cemeteries, one of the big ones, huge ones, with black wrought iron gates, and it would have been 67, and my dad, he took me and my brother to the burial, and outside of the gates he asked us if we wanted to go in and see the burial. Well, no, he asked my elder brother, he says, "You're too young." But he asked my elder brother if he wanted to go, and he didn't. He wanted to stay with me. And so even if I could have, I couldn't have gone, because I couldn't accept that final.
Okay. Just go with that, okay?
Couldn't accept the finality of that.
Go with that, Erin. Just if you can open your eyes, we're just going to go with that. You're doing really well. Okay, just take a breath. Okay, done. Just notice what's coming up.
She's gone and now I'm alone.
Doing really well, Erin. Just keep going with it. If at any point you need to stop, let me know. Just going to go with it. Okay. Well done. Okay, just doing really well. Well done. Just take a breath. Just notice everything at all that's coming up.
No images other than being in children's homes then,
Yeah.
and just feeling like an orphan.
Yeah. You're doing really well. We're going to go with it. Just going where it goes. Okay, it's all linked. You're doing really well. Remember, if at any point you need to stop, you can, but you're doing really well. Well done, Aaron. Just take a breath.
The next poignant part is that day I told you about when me and my brother were walking on a summer's day
Yeah.
to our dad's house.
Yeah.
After that period of darkness,
Yeah.
4 years of darkness.
About age 8 at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just notice that. But you're doing really well, Aaron. Okay. Well done. Take a breath.
Now there's the visions of me being in new schools and in a new home with a stepmother
Yeah.
who, well, was just a carer, significant other, nothing motherly.
Yeah.
There was never any mention of love ever in our lives. With any of the children, it was a sterile home as far as that was concerned. And albeit I of course had friends as a child, I was always alone.
Yeah. Just go with that. Okay. Just go.
It's like when Mother left. She took my soul back with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Just notice that. Do really well.
Wow.
Do really well. Okay. At any point you need to stop or take a break, just do really well. Just breathe through it. Okay. Just take a breath. Just take a moment, just check you're doing okay. Just notice what's there. You're working really well.
I spent a lot of time on my own, and I had an affinity with animals and nature. And I always used to have pets, and I always used to be bringing home injured animals. And I felt an affinity and I suppose a safeness with those, even though they would always leave me in the end. And I could never say that I ever felt like I needed anybody from that point on.
Just go with what you noticed, Aaron. Well done.
So room 3 is available. So room 3 is here. So do you want Gurmeet in, or does Gurmeet stay there and you sit here? Are you sure? Okay. But we don't have control over that. Best thing, Gurmeet is there, you sit here, and just get the job done. Okay, so I will tell Kelly.
Sorry, it's distracted.
Okay, room 3. Okay.
a profound state of awareness. I suppose it's hypervigilant, looking out for danger,
Yeah.
looking out for people's failings,
For people's failings.
looking out for the insecurity
Yeah.
of any given relationship. And being told in later years that nobody could ever get close to me.
Who by?
Friends. They wouldn't feel that warmth and that vulnerable openness. Even though in latter years I'm much, much better at that.
Go with that, Aaron. You really well. Just take a breath.
I once was awoken by a female voice calling my name, and I could feel the breath on my cheek. It was very close, and I instinctively considered that was mother.
Just notice that. Okay. Just take a breath.
With the three siblings, four including myself.
Sorry, Aaron, with the 4 siblings.
Yeah, the three siblings, my elder brother and my 2 younger sisters.
Yeah.
There's a certain sterility. None of us are in a relationship. None of us are any good at relationships. And I suppose looking now, it's kind of like none of us are whole. When something happens like that, when death of a parent, death of a significant other, it feels to me like when there goes something, or the proverbial saying, part of you dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go with that. Take a breath.
There was a very good friend of mine that we used to philosophise together endlessly for many years. And he had a near-death experience. And he said, since then, it's like only his body is here. And I guess we could have an affinity with each other because we both knew that only our bodies were here. And then we can get very metaphysical about spirits and souls and all that sort of thing. And this is why ultimately now I look at all these parts, but I can't find myself. I don't believe in the self. Buddhists don't believe in the self, lots of philosophers don't believe in the self. You look for yourself, you can't find it. What is the core essence? It's a consciousness, it's an awareness. It has no epicenter of a human being.
And I hear that your approach, your philosophy, what you've taken, I hear that. And I wonder if for the purpose of what you're noticing here is, we do sometimes talk about self-energy. In our Manifest there isn't the self. We're talking about an energy, those 8 C's, to be with the parts, the fragments. And maybe what you're noticing just today is we're noticing that little boy and what was taken away, what got split off. So if we just come back in terms of that way, but appreciated that you see things very differently, but to make sense of this, that yeah, we can just be thinking about an energy to be with these lost fragments and aspects. So I'm just checking in with time and how you're doing. We'll make sure we sort of bring this down by 10 to, so we've got some time. So we have still got time now if you're feeling okay, Aaron, to continue processing. Or do you feel like you've done enough for today, you need a bit of a break?
No, I think struggle with the iron's hot.
Yeah, okay. And again, check in with permission, just let your parts all know, appreciating where they're allowing you to go today, and just check in with them that it feels okay. And we're just going to, because then I'm going to invite you back to the image that we started with, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So just have a moment, just check in that that's okay. Okay, and then I'm going to just gently ask you to go back to that image of Mum where we started today in the stretcher on the floor. Was it in the living room? Where was it, Aaron? Was it in the living room?
It was in the living room of a terraced house.
Yeah.
And we came down the steep, bendy stairs, and there's a dog leg at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And then looked out, and Mother was lying on the stretcher with an ambulance man and a policeman.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm just going to ask you to go back to that image, okay? If you look at that image, just notice.
there's imagery of a tumultuous relationship. With mother and father.
Okay. Just go with that.
There was a time shortly after the death when I was seemingly on my own with my dad, I don't know whether I was, coming back late at night to this same house. And he thought there was a light on in the house when he didn't remember putting the light on. And I don't know how I remember this at this time, but he called the police, and the police came, and the police with a bobby hat with his torch entered into the house and came up those same stairs that me and my brother came down only seemingly a few days before. And he was looking for somebody in the house, an intruder, an imposter. Something that, of course, I was more afraid of. But I think my father thought it was one of my mother's brothers. Because at the time, they were after him.
After Dad?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, go with that, and you're doing really well.
For a short while, it seems that we never went into care, but we had to move the city because the brothers of my mother were very angry.
Yeah. Quite threatening.
Sorry?
Mum's brothers were quite threatening.
Yeah.
To the whole, yeah.
Yeah, so my old man was concerned about that.
Sure. Go with that, Erin. Okay. Well done. Just take a breath.
So he used to carry a shotgun.
Dad.
Yeah. And he was very emotionally distraught, and he told us years later that he was driving like a lunatic. Didn't care whether he lived or died. And then, of course, we were presented with a double whammy, where there wasn't any family members that wanted to take us. And his parents wouldn't take any of us. And so we all had to go into children's homes, separated. My younger sister, 1 year old, she went into a foster home. My 2-year-old sister, she went into a separate foster home with families, and, you know, parents and families, because they were only too small to go into children's homes. Myself and my brother, we went into many children's homes.
Go with that, alright. Do you know? Breath.
My old man never had any respect for his parents after that point. Would never let them forget how they weren't there for him.
Yeah.
They abandoned him. His parents abandoned us. And then, years later, they would want to come to the house to pretend that they wanted to see us. And they'd bring us 1 tin of chocolates each Christmas time. That's about the only time we ever saw them. And our man would call them, just dismiss them. He could say, you can come if you think that appeases your guilt. But I've told them what you did, and it's not working for us. And so they were just like ghosts in the living room. A typical grandmother and grandfather. He was a tax collector with his pressed trousers and his polished shoes and his dentures, and she was prim and proper in her summer dresses, and just sat there with a pretense, and it was sickening to see.
Yeah.
And so he was exceedingly resentful. And I suppose he imparted upon us then that, you know, if you can't trust your parents, if you can't trust your family.
Yeah. Being passed down from lots of experiences.
Yeah. And so distrust was instilled within us.
Yeah.
You can't trust anybody.
Yeah. It makes sense why that part holds that now, doesn't it? So I'm just going to check in with us, okay? Check how you're doing. And I guess I'm just thinking this is understandably going to be what we call an incomplete session. So we'll have to pick up on this when we next meet. We'll return to it. And it's in between sessions, processing can continue. So it can mean just that you notice different feelings, images, thoughts, dreams, or nothing at all. So it's up to you, Aaron, how you want to, if you want to keep track of that in any way, or just trust when we turn up that we check in and see.
Well, yeah, I've been analysing my dreams for many years, and so I'll be very mindful of that, and I'll be very conscious of re-emerging thoughts on this.
And it may or may not, it can look different for different people, whether it's subtle or obvious what comes up. But it is just to know that we will return to it and check in with the imagery, with where we started today, and see what's remaining.
Right.
So it's a bit like we start here and we go down different channels and just see what's there. From what I could see today, you were working through processing really, really well. So I just want to thank all your parts, because you know, it was naturally progressing, wasn't it, through different scenes and even the aftermath of the trauma, and then something of all what that was like. I'm sure there's a lot more still to get to as well. So just for now, I guess I just want to check in with how are you doing, with that just now, some people like the image, the idea of a container. So anything that we think might be opened up, we really use again sort of a description and imagery to put everything in this container safely here that we're going to keep, here, so that of course things might start to come up in between, but we're going to kind of consciously put things into that container. Would something like that be?
I think just leave it open, because
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of anything propping up that I'm not going to be able to deal with.
Yeah.
All this imagery I've been through, like I say, many, many times.
Sure.
And, me and my siblings have spoken about all this crazy shit that was going on at the time.
Yeah.
And nobody ever wanted to talk about it. Just his parents didn't want to talk about it. His brother and his wife didn't want to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it, so we could never get any resolve. We could never really get to know Mother.
Yeah.
It was just ended.
Yeah. So just checking in, Aaron, when you look at the little boy in the scenes that we've been going through today, where he started off in that living room, how do you feel towards him just now? Just look at him for a moment and just notice. As you look at him, how do you feel? Okay, just take a breath.
Well, what was useful last time, I suppose it'll be useful again, is to go back to see that dude and to bring him out of that again.
Out that scene.
Sorry?
Out of that scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring him out of that scene.
You want to do this already, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just see if you can invite yourself in to do that. Just see if you can do that. And just again, like I said, just notice how you feel towards him as you're doing that. See if he's willing to go with you and sense if you've grown up and... Okay, just take a breath. Is that possible?
So, I'm meeting him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dishevelled, scruffy little blighter, always digging around in the mud in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
He used to wear this wholly knitted sweater, and it was funny really, because the old man had money, but he didn't like to spend it. And the few photos that we have of us as children, we were pretty dishevelled. And so there's one photo of me, and I've got this multicoloured knitted sweater, and it's got several holes on, but I used to cling on to things then, even when my mother was alive. I used to like my favourite sweater, and I think Mother would try to get me out of it, but I wouldn't. So I had some tendencies towards, I don't know, retentive sort of, possessive sort of thing, even before she died.
Yeah.
But I picked this little dude up and I put him on my shoulders, and he's got his old grey shorts on like they used to wear in the 60s, and his black scuffed shoes, and he's blonde, and his mousy dirty blonde, and he's an angelic looking creature. And I put him on my shoulders and I bring him with me to meet the 8-year-old
Yeah.
who's walking down that country road lagging behind my older brother.
Yeah.
And I take hold of his hand. And we're walking then into a brighter future on that beautiful, bright, sunny day.
Okay. Sounds good. So, just notice that. Notice how you feel towards him, and even if you can, give him a quick running whistle-stop tour update of even beyond that point, so you can really get a sense that he's within you, grown up now. Just take a breath.
There were times when my father and my stepmother used to recognise in me a loving facet that wanted to be cuddled. But it never came natural from the stepmother. And my old man was too frozen in time.
Yeah.
But they saw it in me, but they couldn't nurture it. And so it was never built upon.
Can you do that now? Is there any part of you inside? Anyone you know that's close to you that could offer that to that little boy if it can't come from you? Or if it can come from you, that's great.
My older brother, he was my rock. And in the children's homes he was always there for me. But when we left the children's homes and went to live with our father and a stepmother, then the age difference became too powerful. He was always in a school before me and going out with big boys before me and getting involved in stuff before me, and he never wanted me with him. So therefore even he then rejected me at some stage, little brother.
So maybe just see if sometimes we can pause in. We can notice there might be more to process there around that change in the relationship with your brother. But if we can just pause in on just what we're noticing just now is that little boy needed affection, needed cuddle, needed to be loved and that to be felt. Just check in if anyone in that moment can do that. Is it from brother in that moment? Is it from you, grown up?
Well, I could go back in time and I can pick him up, I suppose.
Yeah, even just now, as you are now,
Picking
just
up
going
again.
in. Yeah, just see if that feels okay. Just notice what's that like.
There are very often were school teachers that saw something that they really liked in me, and they had an understanding of me when I was a little rebel and I was always in trouble, but they would always have my back and they would always be taking me aside and letting me know that they know what I'm capable of and what's in there, and you're spoiling everything. And so this hence is the saboteur, which is one of the parts that we need to speak about at another stage, but the saboteur was all spoiling everything.
So just for now, I'm just going to ask you to notice, and then this is the last bit we'll do with this before we just come out. Just notice you're giving him that cuddle that you can give now as an adult, and notice that you're saying what the teachers saw in that little boy. They believed in him, they liked him, they warmed to him. Even dad and stepmom seeing that, but for whatever reason they couldn't offer it. But just see those people that did see in him all his qualities and his goodness and his lovability. And as you're doing that, see if you can hold out to him that physical touch. And if you want to hold, you know, again, touch upon your body where you might even feel that in your heart, your stomach, wherever it is. If you want to connect to that a little bit more, just bring that in, and we'll just do one last set of eye movements, okay? Just hold all that in if that feels okay.
So, well, I mean, as an older brother, as a father figure, I could grab him around the neck and ruffle up his hair and go, come on, mate. You know, it's all bollocks anyway. You come with me into the future. And everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Expelled from school once again. Standing outside the headmaster's office once again.
Yeah. And you know, let him know, Aaron, let him know there's more. There's more for us to witness, more for us to understand. And just for now, just see if he's okay, just settling into the sense of the presence with you now. You know, that he's gone from that scene. If he goes back in the meantime, that's okay, we'll check in on that next time. Sometimes parts go back, but if you notice that in between and you just connect to him and bring him up to date, that's okay as well. But just let him know we know there's more, and bringing him out of the scene doesn't remove that, you know, it doesn't take away that he's still got more for us to know and see and witness. And that we will check in with him, you know, that's important. So just let him know you can rest now. He's worked hard, you've worked hard. Thank all your parts for giving us that space. Really appreciated how much they have given us that space. And just ask them if they're okay. If there's anything that came up today that they didn't like, anything that we need to be aware of, and we'll just check the next date as well.
Well, I suppose there's a small congratulations in order for the parts that they were true to themselves. We said that we came here to do it, and so we're doing it. And
yeah, and thank you especially to the manager part to protect you, because we could see in that process that they came along the times of the traumas, didn't they? So no wonder they want to be around. So really giving thanks to them for giving you that space to go there.
And thank you for facilitating this.
Yeah, thank you. I'm aware at times I'm quite directive, and we'll keep checking in with that, if that's okay with those parts when I, you know, just check in a bit. But yeah, I appreciate that they've allowed me to work with them, and we keep checking in that it's okay each session.
Yeah, and you know, one thing was significant. If you asked me when you did to what this little boy was feeling, maybe it's because it's been closed for so long. There wasn't any feeling.
Yeah.
Other than, oh fuck.
Absolutely.
Just, what the fuck now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah, you did really well, Aaron. So, I am next seeing you
24th.
On the 24th.
An hour.
An hour on a Tuesday. So I'm going to go and check. I've got a room now because Tuesdays are quite a lot of people around, so I'm going to go and check that. But 24th at 12, and then 2 weeks after that we're back to the Thursday 10:30 to 12. Okay. So yeah, well done. And we'll pick up. We'll see how you're doing then. We'll aim to pick up on some of this, but obviously check in with the protectors.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm assuming that that's fashion, your threads.
I don't really know. I've had them for a while. Yeah.
If it's not fashion, it should be.
Caught through a proper fence.